There is a silence within you, older than any sorrow you carry. Before thought, before name, before age, before regret, there is awareness, gentle, still, vast as the open sky. It has no wrinkles, no time, no burden, and it is waiting. We fear the fading of the body, the trembling of memory, the forgetting of names. But what if the mind was never meant to be a prison of fading things, but a flame, a clear flame, quiet and sharp, unwavering even in the winds of old age? The Buddha did not promise immortality of flesh. He never offered a potion for eternal youth. But he pointed, with silence and with words, to something more enduring: clarity, stillness, the deep knowing that outlives confusion, outlives sorrow, and outlives even time. Old age is not a tragedy to be resisted. It is a sacred gateway, and the habits we plant now, in this moment, this very breath, are the seeds of how that gateway will open. Not with fear, not with forgetfulness, but with a mind like a mountain lake, quiet, lucid, alert. These are not habits in the worldly sense. They are not tricks for productivity or hacks for memory. They are inner disciplines rooted in the very soil of liberation. And as you listen, listen not with your ears alone, but with the still center behind your thoughts. For what I offer you now is not entertainment, it is remembrance. Let us begin. Number 1. Mindful thinking. Cultivating clear perception and present awareness. The Buddha once sat beneath the Bodhi tree and watched his thoughts as if they were clouds. They passed, they changed, they shifted. But he did not follow them. He did not believe them. He simply, and in that seeing he awoke. This is the first gate. Mindful thinking. Not thinking more, not thinking harder, but seeing thought with such presence that illusion melts from it like mist under the morning sun. The untrained mind clings to thought like a drowning man to a piece of wood. Every opinion, every judgment, every fear, we think they are us. We think, I am angry, I am afraid, I am lost. But no thought, no emotion is who you are. You are the awareness that sees them come and go. The Dhammapada tells us, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think, we become. So what do you become when your thoughts are scattered, noisy, compulsive? You become confusion. You become restlessness. But when the mind becomes clear, deliberate, silent in its watching, you become presence itself. Like a candle in a dark room, your awareness illuminates the false, the fleeting, the reactive. To cultivate mindful thinking is to become intimate with thought, but not entangled. You rise each morning not lost in yesterday's worries, but touching the breath, bowing to the moment. You pause before you speak. You watch before you react. You return, again and again. This is not passive. It is the fiercest practice, to watch the mind like a guardian at the gates of the temple. Not to suppress thought, but to see it. And in seeing, to become free of its grip. Steve Hagen writes, the practice is not about quieting the mind, but about seeing the mind clearly. There is no later for awakening, no ideal age to begin. Every thought is a door. Every breath is a choice. And in old age, when the memories begin to blur and the world seems to move too fast, this habit becomes a sanctuary. To sit, to breathe, to witness thought, not as a flood, but as a stream. You no longer have to remember everything. You only need to be here, the mind, kept sharp not by striving but by stillness, cuts through illusion. You begin to see the patterns of thought not as chains, but as stories, and you let go. Goenka reminded us, you are not the body. You are not the mind. You are the knower, and the knower remains untouched. In daily practice, mindful thinking becomes second nature. As you sip tea, you feel the warmth. As you walk, you notice the wind. As you listen to another, you don't plan your reply, you offer your attention like an open palm. A sharp mind in old age is not filled with facts. It is filled with awareness. Awareness that watches the arising of anger and chooses compassion. Awareness that notices confusion and returns to breath. Awareness that sees thought, not as master, but as messenger. And this awareness, this habit of seeing, is not born in one day. It is practiced, it is chosen, it is returned to again and again in silence and in chaos, in youth and in age. And when the end comes, as it must for all forms, this habit is what remains, the clear seeing that does not die, the flame that does not flicker, the mind that even in death bows with clarity. Let this be your first vow, to watch the mind, not as a prisoner, but as a monk watches the moon, calm, receptive, free. Number 2. Right belief, anchoring the mind in truth and wisdom. Belief is a seed, and like any seed, it does not matter merely what you plant, but where you plant it. If your beliefs are scattered in shallow soil, they will not grow deep roots. If they are buried in the rocky ground of fear and ignorance, they will not bloom. Right belief, as taught by the Buddha, is not blind faith. It is not clinging to dogma. It is the recognition of truth through direct experience. It is the art of aligning your view with the way things truly are, not how you wish them to be. And in this habit, this noble cultivation, you learn to sharpen your mind, not by filling it with opinions, but by purifying it with wisdom. Old Path White Clouds tells us that the Buddha often said, "My teaching is not a doctrine or a philosophy. It is the result of direct experience." So we begin with this. Do not believe anything simply because it is written in an old book. Do not believe it because I say it, or because 1,000 others repeat it. Belief, when unconscious, is bonded. But belief, tested by silence, ripened by inquiry, softened by humility, that is the light of wisdom. Right belief rests on the understanding of impermanence. That all things, body, wealth, memory, relationships, even your very breath, will one day pass. To see this not as tragedy but as truth is to see the world as it is, fleeting, fragile, precious. The sharpness of the mind is not measured in how fast it recalls, but in how deeply it sees. And when you believe in impermanence, not intellectually but from your bones, you stop clinging. You stop demanding that the world be different than it is. You stop suffering over what is natural. This is not pessimism. It is liberation. Because when you no longer believe that you must possess to be whole, when you no longer believe that youth must last forever to be beautiful, when you no longer believe that loss is a punishment, you become light. The sharp mind in old age is not heavy with regrets. It is spacious with acceptance. It does not resist the changing body. It bows to it. It does not mourn the forgetting of detail. It trusts the remembering of essence. Right belief also includes understanding the law of karma, not as superstition, but as cause and effect. Every thought, every word, every act leaves an imprint, not because of judgment, but because of natural order. You plant a seed of kindness, and compassion grows. You plant a seed of anger, and suffering follows. So you believe not in fate, but in responsibility, in the sacred power of choice. This empowers the aging mind with meaning. Every day, every breath still matters. You are not a victim of time. You are its co-creator. The Dhammapada says, "With our thoughts we make the world." To hold right belief is to choose thoughts that reflect truth, not fantasy, not fear. Truth. The truth that life is suffering and yet still beautiful. The truth that attachment brings pain, but love without clinging brings peace. The truth that death is certain, but despair is not. As Bhikkhu Bodhi writes in the Buddha's words, right view is the forerunner, the guide, the pilot of the entire path. And so, with this habit you train the mind to see not through the lenses of culture or opinion, but through the clarity of Dharma. You question your assumptions. You release inherited delusions. You replace the shaky beliefs of the world with the enduring truths of the path. And from that anchoring your mind stops wandering. It sharpens, it steadies, it rests. Even when memory fades, wisdom remains. Because wisdom is not stored in neurons, it is alive in presence, in the quality of how you see. The elders who carry right belief do not fear death. They do not resist impermanence. They smile with the grace of those who have nothing to prove and everything to trust. Their eyes hold a stillness that cannot be faked. Their words are fewer, but weightier. Their silence speaks. Right belief is not the belief that you will last forever. It is the belief that something deeper than you, truth, presence, compassion, always does. Let this be your second vow, to anchor your thoughts, not in fantasy, but in truth. Not in noise, but in clarity. And in doing so, you will walk not blindly through age, but awake. Number 3. Disciplined simplicity. Living with purpose and letting go of craving. There is a quiet power in a life uncluttered. A room with only what is needed. A calendar with only what nourishes. A heart with only what is true. Disciplined simplicity is not austerity. It is not self-denial for the sake of punishment. It is the graceful shedding of what does not serve so that what does may breathe. The Buddha did not teach that desire was evil. He taught that craving, that anxious, compulsive thirst was the root of suffering. And as long as we crave endlessly, chase relentlessly, grasp blindly, the mind can never be sharp. It can never be clear. It will be constantly agitated, like muddy water stirred by too many hands. Discipline is the hand that stills the water. Simplicity is the cup that holds it. When we speak of mental clarity in old age, we must speak of how much mental space is wasted on things that do not matter, possessions we do not need, regrets we refuse to release, ambitions that no longer serve, distractions that numb us, roles that cage us. The mind is not a limitless container. It is a sacred garden. And what you plant, what you water, what you prune, that determines the harvest of your years. To live simply is to choose with care, to say no with grace, to say yes with alignment. It is to rise not with a flood of tasks but with one question: what is essential today? Not what is urgent, not what is expected, but what is essential. Aging offers a powerful mirror. It strips away illusion. It reveals that time is not infinite. And in this truth lies great mercy. For when you know that not everything can be done, you begin to see what must be done. Goenka spoke of vipassana as a way to observe reality as it is, not as you would like it to be. This is the same spirit with which we must observe our lives. Disciplined simplicity is not a retreat from life. It is a return to it. You eat only what nourishes. You speak only what is kind. You keep only what has meaning. You commit only to what aligns. And in that gentle restraint, the mind sharpens, not through force, not through harsh control, but through clarity of intention. A cluttered life leads to a cluttered mind. Each possession comes with maintenance. Each attachment comes with anxiety. Each unexamined commitment becomes a source of hidden tension. To let go is not to lose. It is to remember. To remember that your breath is enough. That silence is enough. That presence is enough. that you are enough. The Buddha's own life is the ultimate testament. Born into wealth, he renounced not to suffer, but to see. He gave up palaces not because pleasure is wrong, but because he knew that craving clouds the mind. His discipline was luminous, not grim. His simplicity was expansive, not empty. And this too is available to you. You do not need to leave your home or abandon your life. You need only to pause and ask, what am I carrying that no longer serves? What craving drives my exhaustion? What can I release gently, gratefully? Now, this is not a one-time purge. It is a daily devotion. A devotion to clarity, to space, to breath, to the joy of less. Because when the hands are not full of distractions, they can hold peace. Because when the mind is not full of noise, it can hear the quiet wisdom inside. Because when the heart is not full of craving, it can feel the miracle of simply being. The elders who walk with simplicity are not poor. They are spacious. Their laughter is unburdened. Their presence is grounding. Their very being teaches. You need less than you think. And with less you see more. This is the paradox. The fewer the wants, the sharper the focus. The less you chase, the more you feel. The simpler the life, the deeper the joy. Let this be your third vow, to live not with accumulation, but with alignment. Not with excess, but with essence. And in this sacred discipline, to sharpen the mind, not with more, but with less. Number 4. Compassionate action, living in harmony with all beings. A mind is never so sharp as when it sees beyond itself. We live under the illusion that sharpness comes from intellect, speed, calculation. But in the teachings of the Buddha, true clarity is rooted in the heart, in the quiet strength of compassion, in the daily practice of seeing others not as obstacles, not as tools, not as enemies, but as reflections of yourself. To be sharp in old age is not to be clever, it is to be wise. And wisdom without compassion is like a lamp without oil, dry, cold, and eventually lifeless. The habit of compassionate action is not separate from mental clarity, it is the path to it. When the heart is closed, the mind narrows. It becomes defensive, reactive, small. But when the heart opens, the mind expands. It softens. It sees with depth. This is why the Buddha taught metta, loving kindness, not as sentiment, but as discipline. To wish well not only for friends, but for strangers. Not only for the pure, but for the lost. Not only for the grateful, but for the angry. Not only for the easy, but especially for the difficult. Because each act of compassion is a clearing of the mind's fog. Each act of service is a step away from self-obsession, and in a world obsessed with the mirror, the one who bows becomes free. Passionate action is not about grand gestures. It is in the smallest moments. Listening fully, offering without needing, smiling without agenda, forgiving without needing repayment. And in these moments, something subtle happens. The mind becomes less tight. The thoughts become less noisy. The self becomes less demanding. As the Dalai Lama writes in the Book of Joy, if you want to be happy, practice compassion. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. This is not just poetic, it is neurological. Studies confirm what monks have practiced for centuries. Acts of compassion regulate the nervous system, calm the emotional brain, and deepen cognitive function. Kindness is clarity, and in old age, when the body begins to slow, when the familiar begins to fade, it is not what you knew that sustains you. It is who you were for others. Did you love without condition? Did you give without demand? Did you listen when it mattered? Did you forgive even when it hurt? These are not moral questions, they are spiritual mirrors. And the answers they reveal shape the sharpness of the soul. Because bitterness clouds the mind, resentment corrodes the heart, and isolation shrinks the spirit. But compassion? Compassion sharpens by softening. It is the paradox of the path. The more tender you become, the stronger your clarity. Because there is no fear in the one who chooses. Thích Nhất Hạnh once said, "Compassion is a verb. It is not enough to feel for others. You must act for them. Even if the act is as simple as holding silence with someone's pain. Even if it is offering your full presence to a single breathless moment with another being. This does not require energy. It requires intention. And it is through this intention, repeated like prayer, that the mind is trained to look outward. To see the suffering of others not as something to fix, but as something to hold, to be with, to honor. The sharp mind in old age is not sharp because it cuts, it is sharp because it sees. And the deepest seeing is this: we are not separate. Your joy is tied to mine. Your freedom is tied to mine. Your peace is tied to mine. And so compassionate action becomes not charity, but necessity, not an effort, but a rhythm. A rhythm that guides how you walk through your day, how you respond to insult, how you hold grief, how you meet the stranger, how you forgive yourself. This habit does not demand perfection. It only asks that you return to the breath, return to the heart, return to the truth that love is not a resource, it is a source. The elders who have walked the path of compassion do not radiate pride. They radiate peace. Their minds are not busy, they are clear. Their words are few, but each is weighty with care. Their lives are quiet, but echo with presence. They know that every action, no matter how small, is a chance to heal. That every encounter is a mirror. That every moment is a choice to harden or to open. Then open. Again and again. Let this be your fourth vow, to act from the heart. To make compassion not a reaction, but a habit. Not a feeling, but a practice. And in this practice, to keep your mind luminous with the light of shared humanity. Number 5, joyful resilience. Embracing change, suffering and impermanence with grace. There will be pain. Let this be said clearly, without ornament, without delay. There will be pain. There will be loss. There will be days when the body feels like a stranger, when the past seems closer than the future, when the silence feels too loud. But in the teachings of the Buddha, we are never told to avoid pain. We are never promised a life without sorrow. Instead, we are shown a way to be with it, fully, tenderly awake. This way is resilience. And not the rigid kind, not the kind that clenches the jaw and says I'm fine, but the kind that bows, that breaks and breathes, that cries without shame, that suffers without collapsing. The kind of resilience that is rooted in joy, not because all is well, but because we are still here, still breathing, still able to love, to see, to choose. Joyful resilience is the 5th habit, and perhaps the most essential of all as the years unfold, because what sharpens the mind in old age is not how well it remembers, but how deeply it accepts. Not how much it resists change, but how gently it flows with it. Not how hard it fights impermanence, but how clearly it sees it. In the heart of the Buddha's teaching, Thích Nhất Hạnh reminds us, suffering is not enough. Life is both dreadful and wonderful. How can I smile when I am filled with so much sorrow? It is natural you need to smile to your sorrow, because you are more than your sorrow. This is joyful resilience. To smile, not because nothing hurts, but because nothing can truly harm who you are at the deepest level. To witness the decay of the body with reverence, not fear. To feel grief not as a drowning, but as a river that carves wisdom into the soul. To greet the unexpected with curiosity, not control. The sharp mind in old age is not the mind that holds tight to everything it once knew. It is the mind that lets go with grace, that adapts, that yields like bamboo in the wind, that never breaks. This does not mean you will not ache. You will. It does not mean you will not forget names, or lose friends, or bury loved ones. You will. But what you will not lose if you have practiced this habit is your center, your ability to come home to the breath, your trust that the storm will pass, your deep knowing that you are not your pain, your age, your decline. You are the awareness in which all these things unfold. And from this awareness grows a kind of joy that no circumstance can take. Not excitement, not cheerfulness, but joy, the still, quiet joy that says, even this is part of the path, even this sadness, even this illness, even this letting go. There is a profound dignity in those who carry this joy. They do not deny sorrow. They do not hide from reality, but they do not sink either. They rise. They rise with wrinkled skin and luminous eyes. They rise with cracked voices and steady hearts. They rise not by doing more, but by needing less. Not by fighting life, but by loving it. And in this rising, they show us something holy, that the true strength of the mind is not its speed, but its stillness. That the sharpest mind is not the one filled with facts, but the one filled with peace. This is not passive. This is not giving up. It is the deepest act of courage, to say yes to life, even as it changes shape. To trust that joy is not what happens to you, it is what you bring to each moment. You bring it when you sit with the pain of others without turning away. You bring it when you accept your limits with compassion. You bring it when you find beauty in the ordinary. This habit is not learned in one sitting. It is built breath by breath, like a bridge over turbulent waters. And every time you choose presence over resistance, every time you open instead of harden, every time you smile, not despite sorrow, but with it, you become free. Let this be your fifth vow, to meet life not with fear, but with joyful resilience. To bend without breaking, to grieve without despair, to age without bitterness, to love without needing, to be without condition. These 5 habits are not decorations for a better life. They are the bones of a luminous one. They are not about becoming someone new, but returning to what you already are. Awake, spacious, kind. A sharp mind is not a mind that remembers everything. It is a mind that sees everything with clarity, moves through life with grace, and holds nothing that no longer serves. When old age comes, as it will, may you meet it not with trembling but with stillness, not with regret but with reverence, not with confusion but with compassion. May your thoughts be clear. May your beliefs be rooted. May your life be simple. May your actions be kind. May your spirit be unshakable. Because the truth is this: you do not grow old. You return to silence, to peace, to the flame that has never flickered. And in that light, you do not end.